Welcome to Quiltology, brought to you by Fabric Editions. My name is Kristin, and along with Fabric Editions, we have put together a video to jumpstart your sewing and quilting. Today's lesson is about strips to make quick and easy blocks. Traditionally, NinePatch blocks are pieced with 9 squares, 5 of one fabric and 4 of a different fabric. The Pathways quilt is composed of 30 NinePatch blocks, made from 8 fabrics, which is a lot of squares to cut and sew together individually. Half of the blocks are large NinePatch blocks, while the others are small NinePatch blocks with a trim of white on white around the edges. The quick strip technique allows for less cutting and more accurate piecing by sewing the strips together, then subcutting them into various units which are sewn back together to make the NinePatch blocks. Cutting perfectly straight strips is the most important lesson for making accurate blocks. First, you find your selvages of your fabric. To find the selvages, you can always look for a white marking, or the trick is if you can see the side that frays, that is not the selvages. The selvage end is the end that does not fray. You line your selvages up, kind of shake out the fabric, put the fold towards you, and make sure the lines are straight. Sometimes you might need to go ahead and square up your fabric initially to get a nice straight line to start with. For this quilt, we'll be making 3.5-inch strips. So you will line your straight edge of the fabric with the 3.5-inch mark. So you find 3.5 inches, you measure twice so you can cut once, because if not, you'll be wasting fabric. Use a nice sharp rotary cutter and hold your ruler, and you will end up with a nice 3.5-inch strip. You will do this for the navy and white dot as well as the white on white fabric. Once you have your strips cut, I like to remove the selvages because they will pucker when you sew. So you can go ahead and cut your selvages off your fabric just by lining up your ruler straight with your raw edge and trimming them off and just discarding them. Next, you will sew for block 1, strip set A, which will be a navy and white dot, a white on white, and another navy and white dot. You will sew these 3 strips together and always press your seam towards the darker side, which will avoid shadowing in the white. Once you have your strip set sewn together, you will then subcut it into 3.5-inch strips. And once again, if you measure twice the 3.5-inch, you line it up and you subcut it, so you will end up with a section that'll be perfect for the first part of your block. You will cut 2 subcuts for each of this block A. To make the center of block A, you will do just the opposite. You will have 2 white on white strips that are 3.5 inches, and you'll use your blue dot as your center. Do the exact same. Sew the 3 pieces together, always pressing towards the dark side to avoid the shadowing in the white. And this also helps when you go to construct your block together because the seams will nest. You've always pressed to the dark, so when you line your seams up to put them together, they will form a perfect little nest, and you will just pin them together, and when you sew, the points should match perfectly. Now we're going to do the smaller NinePatch with the sashing. It once again measures 9.5 inches square, but we're adding a sashing so it gives it a different look. To make your first strip set for block B, you will use a navy and blue polka dot with the multi-polka dot is your center and the navy and white on the opposite side. Just like we did in block 1, you will line your selvages up, cut your strips. This time you'll be cutting your strips 2.5 inches though. You will sew them together in strips, and then you will subcut them into 2.5-inch strips. So you will end up with a piece that looks like this. Just like in block 1, in block B, you will press your seams towards the dark fabric to avoid the shadowing. For each of these blocks, you will need, from strip set A, 2 segments. From strip set B, which will be the multi-print as your edge pieces, and your navy and white in the center, you will need 1 subcut. Once again, you'll line up your fabrics, sew them together, and press towards your dark to avoid the shadowing. Subcut this section into 1 to form your center, and you will end up with a little NinePatch block. And to get it square to match in with the larger 9.5-inch blocks, we'll use a 2-inch white sashing, which is a white on white, and you will just add it around the borders all the way around. And when you're done, go ahead and square it up 9.5 inches so it'll match the larger NinePatch block. And you'll assemble them together to form this beautiful quilt. Making blocks from pre-cut strips is a lot of fun. Since you are sewing long, straight seams, you can accomplish more in less time. Consider ways you can use this method in future quilts. Hope you enjoyed today's lesson.